Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to season 2 of the Caffeinated Librarians. I'm Simona,
I'm Amy.
and this afternoon we'll be discussing the Netflix original period drama series Bridgerton. Created by Chris Van Dusen and produced by Shonda Rhimes. This series is based on a series of Regency era novels written by Julia Quinn. So, Amy, what would you like to discuss?
Well, I'm gonna start off by saying that I really like it. I was in love with the first season plot arcs and a lot, overall very happy with it. I do like I would like to discuss the color issue, the race issue. Um
Sure.
First off, because like that's the first thing you notice when you're watching.
Yes.
So, um I loved it, and I also felt it was super problematic. Like I loved it because, I love seeing, much more diversity in television, and doing period stuff in England is not conducive to like a multi-ethnic cast. But it also raises so many issues with, just perceived non-racism. Like it seems that winds up making it look like there was never a problem. And that's not true, as we know. And like I'll use it as an example, my childhood misunderstanding. I was raised in a very, very liberal household. Like all people were created equal. We definitely believed in that. That's good because this is the eve of the Martin Luther King Jr. Day weekend. So this is a good thing to discuss. But I had never, like, before they started teaching it really in school. Like my parents, like I'm crazy, crazy media mom. So I'm always, with what happened last week during the election certification. I was like, Ellie, do you know what happened? Did they talk about this at school? And obviously I didn't couch it as like, well, this was a terrifying experience. But people need to know.
Mm-hmm.
And when I've talked about slavery and I've talked about racism, and it's always come pretty naturally. But when I was a kid, I watched the Jeffersons growing up. I had no idea until I saw a portrait that Thomas Jefferson was not black. Like I thought I would have sworn that he was a person of color. I had no problem with that.
Mm-hmm.
I um but that brings me back, like, and every time I think about it, I think of that like misunderstanding, and then like seeing his portrait and being really confused because because the only people with the last name Jefferson that I'd ever met were the Jeffersons on television. And I was like 5. So
Yeah.
um but and I did appreciate that they mentioned that there was slavery in the United States, that like the father of the boxer was probably an escaped slave,
Mm-hmm.
and that and the king fell in love with the queen, and so they were all perfect and landed gentry now, which I don't understand because that's not a lifespan kind of thing.
Yeah, it's interesting that you brought up the issue of race within the show. I recently watched a video, an online panel, and the discussion was, you know, colorblind casting, colorism, race sort of relations within the show, and some of the stereotypes that maybe unwillingly were still, oh, I can't think of the word.
Foisted?
Probably, like, even though the intention might have been good, they still inadvertently sort of played upon these stereotypes.
Correct. I actually saw that in another show too, and it's the same thing in an effort to increase diversity.
Yeah, because honestly, when I watched the show, because I had no idea about the books. In the books, of course, the characters are all white. When I saw the show, I was like, oh, okay, so what they're doing is this is an alternate Regency era England, you know, I guess slavery never happened. Race relations are fine because they're, you know, the races are mixing freely within society. There's no indication, for example, that Simon and Lady Danbury have faced any issues. I mean, they're attending these parties. No one's batting an eyelash at the fact that, oh, these people of color are in our circles. Like, okay, this is great. Fine. This is great. I like this. And then when I was listening to this panel discussion, apparently the issues of racism and slavery were supposed to be evident throughout the series, but that's not how I saw it. And
No.
I remember when there was that line, and I quoted it, when Lady Danbury is talking to Simon and she says, "We were two separate societies divided by color until a king fell in love with one of us." And I was like, oh, so I guess racism and slavery does exist in this world.
Right.
And there were supposed to be other hints to this, but I think they were poorly done. If that is what you intended, you should have made it more obvious, because it was too subtle then for me to catch. And for even the people discussing on the panel, they felt that if that was your intention all along, then you should have made it evident. And they also discussed, going back to colorism, how the characters of color who are considered more desirable are lighter skinned, have more Eurocentric features, which I can see, can definitely see that. The characters of color, the only one with any kind of role who's the villain is Simon's father, and he has darker skinned, he has more traditional like Afro features, and he is the villain of the piece. And so they sort of were saying that that perpetuates these notions that people who are lighter skinned are more desirable, or you should desire them more. They probably are more inherently good and, you know, kind nature, and people who are darker skinned, they're undesirable and they're the villains. Although the act and one thing they did bring up, which I did appreciate, was the actress who plays Queen Charlotte. Although she is light skinned, they were saying that she doesn't have very Eurocentric features. So they did appreciate that she was cast within the part. And I can definitely see it, because even in casting, whenever you see Hollywood casting roles for African Americans, it seems like they use the same African American, like Zendaya. And this is nothing against Zendaya as an actress or as a person, but she tends to be the go-to person. And a lot of people are arguing like there are other actresses. So I can kind of understand that, because within the African American community, there is still that issue of colorism. It's very prevalent still. So that was something that they addressed. And also, like, one of the panelists addressed the lack of Asian representation within this culture, and how the only Asian you really see, like, I know one of Charlotte's ladies in waiting is an Asian woman and she's fanning her.
I didn't even notice.
Yeah, I'm
I
sorry.
didn't even notice.
Slipping. I'm not picking my nose and just adjusting the nose.
Please note, listening people.
Yes. So, yeah, so that she's, and then the other, and I didn't even realize the actress was Asian American. I assume she was African American or of African descent. She's the wife of the artist gentleman who invites one of the brothers to his, like, I guess his decadent parties where everyone is free to do whatever. And, you know, the brother has a threesome with the wife, and I'm assuming she's of Asian descent. I don't really know.
Yeah, she looked.
But she sort of, according to one of the panelists, she falls into that exotic Asian stereotype.
Right. yeah, she's like like a no particular
Yeah,
ethnicity kind of multi-representational person. Uh,
exactly.
and you know, like I agree. I agree with, you know, with everything you said. I I did find it better before they tried to like float in that whole like,
Hmm.
you know, we had trouble before. Because that also minimizes the struggle so much that like, oh, the king married one. We're good now.
Yeah,
And
let me see that love sort of resolved centuries
yeah,
of hate and conflict. I was like, I would say to myself, wow, it's
yeah,
that easy, you know? So
I
yeah,
know, right?
that throwaway line, I remember looking, I was like, I didn't understand. I was like, that makes no sense to me
Yeah,
whatsoever.
incredibly problematic. Um, and also that like how is Lady Danbury like however old she is and Lady Danbury, she wouldn't have had a title. Like none of that would have happened in, you know, it she would have
Yeah.
been much younger. It's the whole thing, the whole thing.
And even
And
like her line, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to
oh,
interrupt.
go ahead.
When she says, because there's supposed to be little lines, and even the character of Marina, which I'd like to discuss her storyline
Mhm.
as well. Like Marina will have has a throwaway line where she says, you know, you're so privileged, you don't know what it's like. But then again, as the panelist said, well, that could simply be a reference to the fact that Marina comes from maybe a lower income side of the family.
Right,
There's no indication that Marina's indicating that because she's black that she's had it tougher. There's
right.
no indication, and I didn't even read it that way.
No,
Well, okay, she's obviously from a poor family, doesn't have the resources that the
lived on a
Featherington.
farm.
Yeah, so I didn't even read race into it
No,
because the show up until this point was doing a good job of convincing me that race isn't the issue within the
right,
society.
right.
So who would know that's what she's referencing?
Yeah, I would have felt better about everything had they just like not gone there.
Yeah,
They just, you
and
know, like
yeah,
blended even better and just been like, this is a work of fiction. You did not see this much diversity. Like, just put that somewhere in the credits. Like,
yeah.
but own that that's fiction for real. Cause like it, you know, it's like we're coming out of this generation of parenting where it was, I don't see color, I see
Hmm.
people, which was like it came from a good place, but it minimized the experience. It basically was like you're just like me. So whatever trouble you have is unacceptable because I wouldn't have it.
Hmm.
And so like that's also coming from such a place of privilege.
Yeah, and going to Marina, which Marina Thompson, which her storyline was generally, I considered the most interesting storyline of the season. So, Marina Thompson is I wouldn't say she's poor, but she's less privileged or maybe not as wealthy as the Featherington family. I believe she's supposed to be a cousin of sorts. And honestly, when they had the reveal that she's pregnant, I sort of went to a dark place in the sense it was like, oh, was this probably a result of rape? Is it
Mhm.
incest? Because even with the husband character, I'm sorry, I don't know, remember the character names, but Father Featherington, the fact that he wanted to keep her, I was like, oh, does he want to keep her because he has designs upon her? I was like, ooh, this is interesting. Let's see
Right.
where this goes.
It was just a different kind of nefarious.
Yes. And and then it was the reveal that, you know, she had a like a love affair with this man in the village, and, you know, because of the war, he
Mhm.
went away, and, you know, she didn't, I'm assuming at that time she didn't realize she was pregnant. And now she has this dilemma being an unmarried woman with child, so to speak. Well, how am I going to address this issue? And which in itself, is interesting because it shows in many respects a woman placed in that situation, what other options would she have?
Right.
And even it plays upon that idea of class, how people of lower class, well, we expect that they don't have the same value. Because even, I'm going to call her Mother Featherington because I don't remember the mother's name.
Wasn't it Portia?
Probably. Says something to the same effect that she didn't expect any better of her. And Marina's storyline is one of the more heartbreaking ones, especially when it comes to, we're going to talk about Colin. Colin, isn't he Colin?
His name is Colin.
Colin, okay, great.
I'm sorry. I do not have many nice things to say about Colin.
My brother, my issue, I don't like Anthony, so we'll discuss Colin and then we'll talk about Anthony.
It's Antony, though.
Antony.
Like, I've been listening to the book and I listened because I thought it was Anthony first, but it's Antony, which makes more sense.
Antony.
Okay. Because it's more of a Greek kind of throwback.
Oh, okay. Well, I like Colin's character. I mean, to be perfectly honest, of the brothers, and my favorite brother, I'm going to call him the middle one. Middle brother, I don't remember his name.
Well, it's hold on, it's alphabetical. So it's Anthony, Benedict, Colin, Daphne. I don't remember the sister, and then Frederica, and then I lose the plot with the other.
Is
ones.
Eloise?
Eloise, Frederica.
Would you believe that I did not even notice that? Well, then again, listeners who have listened to us already will know that I tend to miss those like minor details, but very interesting. Thank you. So you said his name was Benedict? Benedict is my favorite brother. And I thought his storyline was going in a certain direction, and I'll talk about that later. But
I bet it's the same direction I thought it was.
Probably, yeah. So with
Let's
Colin,
say it at the same time. 1, 2, 3. Gay.
Yes. It didn't go that way though, but I was ready for it. Okay. So with Colin, I mean, I don't get you really see too much of him. He sort of acts to be the brother that everyone knows is there, but he's inconsequential because like he's so far down the line, so to speak. So I mean, why did you dislike him? Let's just go to that. Like, why did you dislike Colin?
Okay. I mean, Colin is delightful. In the book, he's delightful. He's the funny brother. He's the sweet brother. He's very sarcastic, but very caring. And that plays into, his part in the show. He broke my little fat girl heart. Okay. My little fat girl heart did not need that kind of rejection in fiction. Like, seriously.
Because of Penelope. Yeah. Although I have issues with Penelope, but we'll get to that later.
Yeah. I mean, it just seemed like it's fiction. Can we just not make the thick girl the victim of unrequited love? Could we just go out on a limb and say that she's desirable, for God's sakes?
No, that would be asking too much.
It was like reliving my 20s. It was awesome.
Yeah. There's a good YouTube channel. I think it's called The Princess and the Scrivener, and one of the hosts discusses that about the depiction of. I don't know if she uses the term fat girls. I know that some use it interchangeably, but basically that very same issue that you just addressed, where plus size women in fiction, it's like she says we deserve love as well.
For real.
And she's tired of the trope that, we're not desirable, that no one would ever find us desirable, that in order for us to be desirable, we have to lose weight, or it has to be that special man or whatever.
Right. Somebody has to be blind or drunk, but whatever.
Yes, because there was that whole movie I think that came out where I think that happens, where doesn't someone get like drunk, like what you just mentioned? I gotta find it again, because that's, I think she also brought up, there was a film that had that issue and people got very upset. I'm gonna try to find it and send it to you later. But that's the same thing I thought with Penelope. So Penelope Featherington is one of the sisters. She's one of the overlooked ones. She's obviously the more intelligent of the Featherington sisters.
Or the one with more emotional depth anyway, which
Exactly,
comes
at least
from
the way
being tortured for being a fat girl.
Yes, so she's very intelligent. She's very aware of her sort of role within the family or what's expected of her. And she, in her own little ways, tries to push against those expectations. And she is madly in love with Colin. Colin is obviously very oblivious to this because that's the way it goes.
My God.
And the major source of contention for her becomes Marina's interest in Colin as a potential husband that can resolve her pregnancy issue. That doesn't work out. And then Colin finds happiness, I guess, traveling the world like he always wanted to do. Since we're discussing brothers, we should have done this alphabetically, but let's talk about Anthony. I'm gonna have trouble. I have a tendency to always say Anthony.
It's
Anthony.
fine. It doesn't hurt my feelings at all.
Yeah,
I was just correcting.
Yeah, of the three older brothers, I like him the least. They try to redeem him towards the end when he finally decides that Daphne has some intelligence and she can manage her own affairs. But I just did not like him. And then again, it's probably just a reflection of his caste. He's a upper class gentleman with the privileges that came with that. My major issue is his relationship with Sienna, who's the opera singer, because she's basically just there in his eyes, for a good time. And there is an indication that he loves her, but he's not willing to sort of go beyond social conventions and basically say, to heck with it. Yeah, so I was kind of hoping, and I don't even recall, does Sienna end up taking him back? I was trying to remember if she does, and I completely forgot.
Oh, hold on 1 second.
Sure.
I just realized I am logged in as Debbie, and I don't know if she has a thing. So I'm going to duck out and sign back in as me. Hold on.
Okay.
Come. Oh, no.
Did it affect the recording now?
I don't know. I don't think so. I don't see anything today.
Okay. Well, this could be part of the blooper reels if need be.
Yeah.
Fun. Yeah.
You guys were on a nice roll there.
I know. Well, I'm back. No, we can resume our roll. Don't worry. Like I am pumped up today.
Awesome. Okay.
Like I can't tell you. Like I had to finish it this morning because I was running behind. And like when she was gonna tell Colin, and he was just like, I'm traveling the world, and she's like, never mind.
Well, there could be hope in the second season.
But we were actually talking about what's his face and what's her face.
Anthony and Sienna.
Yeah.
Basically, they're like the we're gonna call them the Romeo and Juliet of the show, but not for the same reasons that you may be thinking. No. So let's call them the Montague and Capulets, like opposing,
No. They're like it's a class difference. And
well, I was going to argue that in the sense that they shouldn't be together, or being together would be problematic, at least in his eyes. That's where I was going with. But okay,
right.
Fair. It probably doesn't fit very well. I can't think of another one that would. But so yeah, Sienna's an opera singer, and that comes with its own stigma because performers at that time were not considered. They were almost like prostitutes, so to speak. It was considered low class. Like upper class people would attend their shows, but they weren't a very high status in society at that time.
I didn't know that. I was coming into this like not thinking that she was a prostitute, but
I not that I think she's a prostitute.
like a prostitute adjacent.
And anyone who's a history buff who may be listening, if I am wrong, please let us know. But I'm pretty sure that at that time, performers were not held in such high regard.
Right.
So I think she's dealing with that. She's obviously dealing with her class, because even though she is of lower class, she still has some form of education. Even
Mhm.
in the words that she uses, she does have some education. And Anthony basically, he treats her as his secret. You can tell that throughout the show, he's fighting against his sort of duties. Like he does not want to assume, like when it suits him, he doesn't want to assume the responsibilities that come with his position as the eldest son. When he
Mhm.
wants to lord it over the other ones, he's more than happy to do that, but he doesn't want to assume some of the other responsibilities. Mainly getting married. And I was trying to understand if that's because he loves Sienna, even though he obviously would have no intention of ever marrying her. And at this point, he's keeping her as a mistress. So I don't understand why he would care about not marrying. So that part kind of confused me. I
see,
don't know if the books
oh,
go into
sorry.
that. No, I'm
I
done.
think, well, no, I mean, the first book is called The Duke and I, or Me
Mhm.
and the Duke, or whatever. And it just focuses on Daphne and Simon.
Okay.
And then I think what happens is like the next book focuses on another couple, which I think that they're kind of doing through story arcs season
Okay.
to season, but it's even like more like, you know, like nobody else really has a plot at all. It's just Daphne and Simon.
Okay.
But he, you know, I felt so sad because like in like the maybe it was the season before the episode before the last one, when, you know, he finds out that Benedict is with the modist, the whatever, the lady, the tailor lady,
We can call her the dressmaker,
dressmaker, oh, the modiste,
the modiste.
um but and he like goes over and he's like, you have every right to be happy, and like just toddles right off because he realizes, like he finally realizes his power. Like, and I realize, like if you think about it, the dad died when he was like, I think they're like probably 26,
Mm-hmm.
28. So his dad died when he was like 16 or 18
Mm-hmm.
because the mom was having the last daughter after he died.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, he came into his Viscount esque, Viscountishness, whatever, early, and like he just had to follow. Like that, like he wasn't in a position to make waves. And now like he finally realized, you know, I can bring whoever I want to
Mm-hmm.
this ball, and I can marry whoever I want, and I will raise her up. She does, like, I don't have to worry. Like she's going to come with me and they'll talk for a few minutes and then they'll shut up
Mm-hmm.
and then we will have a life.
Mm-hmm.
And then like he, you know, he comes to pick her up and he finds that she's just somebody else's side piece,
Mm-hmm.
for lack of a better, but you know, it's so sad because I think he'd finally kind of made his peace
Mm-hmm.
with like making the town unhappy.
Yes.
Like with just, you know, like, okay, my sister's married to a duke, I'm a viscount, and my brother was just embroiled in a scandal because he was almost cuckolded,
Mm-hmm.
so I'm just gonna marry this chick.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, and then like she kind of says, and you know, and I can totally respect that. Like
Mm-hmm.
she's clearly had a hard life, she's clearly worked her way up,
Mm-hmm.
and she doesn't want to, like, and I can see like it's a lot of restraint versus just being able to have a life that you want and be
Mm-hmm.
like live with the rich and famous people, but not be rich or famous yourself, but also not be on the side of town where they're like just dumping poop in the street. So
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, I was happy that Sienna came to that realization and she's going to do ultimately what's best for her and for her
right.
life. And now let's talk about Benedict, the favorite brother.
He is adorable. I can't recognize him though. it's problematic. Like, I don't know why. Like, I can recognize Anthony, I can recognize Colin, but this guy walks in and I'm like, who is he again?
Because he's like Colin in that he's there, like he's observing. He's almost like, why am I here? Why am I even putting up with this? Like, I loved his relationship with Eloise. I think they have such a good, I loved
I
their
know.
bonding moment on the swings when he catches her smoking. It kind of reminded me of me and my brother, because like, well, we hang out a lot.
When you're smoking on the swing.
Well, not me,
Okay.
but yeah, like I love their relationship. And before Amy and I, we were saying that we thought his storyline was going one way and it just didn't go there. And the reason why I thought this was because when he meets that painter, and it's the scene where he's at the palace and he's criticized, he's ripping this painting to shreds, saying, why is this here? And all of a sudden, what was it? Who was the one that says, was it Lady Danbury?
Oh, it's Lady Danbury. Yeah.
Like, by the way, let's ask the painter. And the painter just turns around and Benedict is mortified. He's like, oh, I didn't mean it. But then like he meets that painter again, and the painter says, basically like, come with me to a secret place. I'm paraphrasing, guys, where, you know, you can be who you want to be. You can be free. I was like, okay, where is this going? You know, ooh, takes him like, it's like, it reminded me, like he opens the door, he says, you've come. And I thought, oh, is there going to be something with these two?
Right. I was waiting for like
he welcomed. He's like, there's naked ladies that people are painting. I was glad that there were women and men, because if it was just strictly men, I would have felt like, so at least women being there made me feel a little better. But it didn't go that way.
Yeah, I was waiting for like a romantic scene.
Yeah, the painter is gay.
Yeah.
Which you find out in one of the more awkward way possible. Although I appreciate how Benedict handled it, like open the door, close the door, and let me just proceed on with my life. You know, so
we didn't really, sorry.
No.
I mean, I don't think that I realized he was gay so much as bi.
Oh.
Like, I kind of figured, you know, both of them were just a little poly or bi. Like, I didn't, you know, and I don't think, you know, I don't think any of this stuff like just showed up when society was ready for it. I mean, I think that it was happening back then.
Oh no,
and, you know,
definitely.
so the artist, you know, I just kind of thought that they were like, well, you know, we're stuck in society's conventions, but you know, we can find some like-minded people and do our own thing. And then when he said he was in love with the Duke, I don't even know who that dude is. Like, I could not ever pick him out. But anyway, you know, I love the painter. I wish there was more. Like, I hope that they kind of increase that storyline. I hope that there is some, you know, gay, bi, whatever representation, because
I'm sure there will be. I mean, if they introduced it in the first season and the painter didn't die or meet with any kind of accident, which usually occurs for a gay character, so there's hope that he'll be in season 2. You know, maybe they could eventually introduce that storyline. But yeah, I loved Benedict. I loved his relationship with Eloise. Eloise, I liked her because she's also trying to push against convention. She has a mind. She wants to be known for her intelligence, not just what she can contribute. I want to say this cleanly, but basically not what she can contribute with her body. Basically that all I can be is a baby making machine. I have a brain, intelligence. I want to use it. I liked her quest to find who Lady Whistledown is. You know, everyone's favorite or not so favorite whistleblower, the one who's airing everyone's dirty laundry, so to speak. I did not buy the reveal that it's Penelope. Of course, there are people that would argue there's hints throughout the show. I really don't know how I feel about it being Penelope.
I have to rewatch. But
and honestly, that ruins my like of Penelope, because the fact that she could be that petty, I mean, obviously she's dealing with petty people around her, but the fact that she's also revealing things that could be detrimental to another person, like never mind, oh, you know, is Daphne, and we'll get to Daphne eventually. Is she the diamond that, you know, that everyone is thinking of, or is she this? So that was okay, whatever. But when she started hinting at Marina's issue, I kind of said, okay, now I'm kind of losing respect. I understand that you're upset that the man that you love is oblivious to that and going with another woman, but don't compromise her safety because you feel the need to sort of exploit it. So that's what kind of ruined Penelope's character for me. Yeah, like I said, I didn't buy the reveal too much. When it was revealed, I was like, oh, like, I don't know who I suspected. Oh, I thought the modiste was Lady Whistledown, because that would have made more sense.
That does make a lot of sense, because like she
Because-
would be down with everything.
Yeah, because as Eloise said, when she was saying it has to be a servant or some kind of tradesperson, because they have the freedom to move about in society, be unnoticed by society, but still glean all this information. And another
Ding, 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 fat girl.
Yeah. Well, see, with Penelope, yes, she does move about in society, but I was trying to figure out, how does she have time to write and be unnoticed? Because her family is everywhere. She basically has zero privacy. How does she convince someone to publish her work and guarantee that that person is not going to say, well, I know who Lady Whistledown is? And what was the third thing that I had? I'm sorry, I wrote it down in the notes and I can't find it. But I had another reason why I was questioning how it could be Penelope, because yes, she does have the freedom to move about. She goes largely ignored, you know, so she could glean that information. She could also listen into servants or whatever. But for me, the modiste was a more logical choice, because as there's one scene where it says, you know, when Daphne's mother is going to sort of spread that rumor, or use Lady Whistledown to spread another rumor. And she says, you know, who does gossip better than women? Like, we can share information through our networks. We can disseminate things faster than, you know, nobody's business. You know, we got this. And you see the servants gossiping, sharing, like in the market. Okay, so the modiste, okay, it's the modiste. And then the scene in the carriage, I know I'm jumping around, but the scene Eloise looks at the modiste when her brother basically, Benedict, says, we got to pick someone up, and he picks up the modiste. And the modiste says, oh, like, she mentions how everyone was at the party tonight except blah. Like, she mentions, and then Eloise has like that moment where I thought she went kind of catatonic and she's just staring at her. I'm like, so it's like, so it is the modiste. And then it was not the modiste. So anyway, I was rooting for the modiste. This is the short explanation for that long-winded whatever that I just went through. I thought the modiste was the more obvious choice.
Yeah. I mean, I get it. I wasn't really invested in finding out who Lady Whistledown was at all.
Neither was I.
It was not as, it was like, it was a side plot at best for me. I love Eloise. I love Eloise and Penn's friendship. I think that they are super sweet and adorable together. I think Eloise is gay, which is just my impression, because, you know, that would definitely, you know, yes, she's anti like what being a lady means, right? But, you know, she also, I don't know. I mean, she just the same way we thought Benedict was gay. I just kind of get the gay vibe.
No, and I see that, because for a moment I actually thought the same thing. And I thought that maybe she may have had feelings for Penelope. So I kind of got that vibe too, but I would hope it was not because she's anti-traditional feminine things, like, because you can be not traditionally feminine, but like not be gay. But I kind of had the same feeling at a certain point.
Yeah.
It was maybe season 2.
Yeah, I mean, it's also, it's just, you know, I think that it would be really easy to kind of be, I think the word is iconoclastic. I think I'm gonna have to Google that, but I think, you know, pushing back on everything feminism, not
Mhm.
everything feminism, everything like quote unquote feminine of the time
Mm-hmm.
is easier than being like, I like girls.
Yeah, I mean, especially at that time. And it was interesting because you remember, of course you remember, we discussed this like 2 minutes ago when we were talking about the, sorry, when we were talking about the painter and how he had his own like world of like-minded people. I remember reading something very interesting, and this was in an earlier period, but in England at the time in the 1600s, there was a thriving gay community. There were gay scenes. There were areas within London that were known to be hot spots where gay people would get together. And they also had a rich slang.
Mhm.
So that's how they kind of knew, are you my people? So they would say like a phrase like, do you know the time or something like that? And the person, depending on how the person responded, they would know, okay, it's safe, we can talk or we can do, whatever. So they had that rich slang. I was just going back to when you mentioned how these things didn't just happen because now society is slowly opening up and accepting it. There's always been a vibrant culture. Obviously, it had to be more secret, but it was always there. So I just wanted to bring that up because I found that very interesting about the slang. And even more recently, I watched a video that was talking about gay culture and gay slang. I think it was in England as well. And the play on words that you could use to sort of say, like, is it safe to go there tonight? And
Right,
the
right.
person would answer, and you would know, okay, yes or no, I can't be there. And I
Mhm.
think they were saying that at that time that cops would frequently arrest people, but then let them go again because they knew that these were the hot spots, and they would arrest, but then the person would be let go again and like nothing would
Right,
happen or that. But yeah, like I said, maybe say season 2, Painter Man will return.
right.
We shall
And
see.
just notice the time.
Yes.
I do want to say very quickly, I love the music. Apparently it's a Shonda Rhimes thing. But
Yeah.
I like when Simon and Daphne are consummating the heck out of their marriage.
Oh
Uh,
God.
they actually, I don't know if you noticed, they made an instrumental version of Taylor Swift. And
Yes.
apparently, because I was like, I know that. Like it's do 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 do. And I
Yes.
was like, that I'm gonna have to Google that. And I was like, how am I gonna Google a tune? But
Yes.
apparently, like they did that with Ariana Grande, Taylor
Yes.
Swift. They
Hmm.
hit a few, which
Which
I thought
I
was
like that.
spectacular.
The first time I realized that they were doing a modern song but instrumental, I think it was one of the ball scenes. I'm like, wait, I know this tune. I know it. I did like that use. I mean, at first, sometimes the purist in me is like, that wouldn't have been around. But I was like, "But whatever. This is just, I call it a fusion piece. Whatever. I'll go
Yeah,
with it." And it worked very well. The instrumentals worked. But,
seamless.
but let's talk about the sexapades that Daphne and like, after a while, I was like, I know it's the honeymoon, but can we just like,
Move it along.
no, it's like, because talking about Daphne and Simon while we're winding down, because it's very important to discuss their relationship and the major source of contention that
Yeah.
eventually develops. I didn't
The
think that
dumb promise on a deathbed. Okay.
exactly. I didn't think they were a fit for one another. I honestly couldn't understand what would have made them fall in love with one another. Attraction, yes, because the gentleman who plays Simon is extremely attractive.
For
And
real.
yes, and even the actress, she's very pretty too. So I can understand the attraction part. I mean, when the man speaks, he could talk about toilet paper and it wouldn't make a difference to me. So I understand that.
And
And
that is like a unifying theory. Like every person I've talked to, I'm like, Simon, and they're like, whoa. So
yes, so we can all agree on this. So I didn't really buy their relationship. The source of contention, which basically Simon has vowed when his father was dying, Simon vowed to never give him an heir as sort of a like stick it to his father sort of, because his father for many years of Simon's life was not pleased with Simon. He thought that he was inept. unintelligent, that he was not a good heir. And then eventually while he's dying, he says, I'm so proud of you. You've proven me wrong. And Simon says, I vow this to you that I will never give you an heir. Your line will die with me. And so that's a source of contention between Daphne, because Daphne wants to be a mother and Simon says, I can't have children. Not, I don't want children, I can't have it.
Well, I think that's why we needed so much I can't say that. So much consummation.
A lot of sex. At one point.
But I think that they need to show that he is abbreviating their union so as not to impregnate her.
Yes, I was trying to figure out when I was writing my notes, how do I say this in a clean way? Yes, so Amy, exactly what Amy said. So basically every time they have sex, he, yeah. So they basically, and eventually Daphne catches on to something is not right. And she asks her trusty lady in waiting, be honest with me, when a man and woman make love, how do they have children? What brings about conception? And obviously the lady in waiting says, this is what needs to be done. This, of course, angers Daphne. And in one of the more controversial scenes, I think it's important to mention this. Daphne prevents Simon from withdrawing, and she basically forces him. And I didn't like the fact that it's barely mentioned, the fact that she took away his choice because this is what she wanted. And even in the book, it's even more alarming because he's intoxicated when she does this.
Oh, you spoiled.
Well, spoiler.
Yeah, I mean, I don't care. It's fine.
Lewis can put he can bleep this out or put spoiler warning. She basically
on episode 7 continuation of the Bridgerton series, because this is 2 episodes at this point.
Yeah, so she basically takes away his ability to consent, and a lot of people have an issue with this. And I think that it's a big issue, especially when it comes to men and consent. I think there tends to be that double standard. Had he done it to Daphne, there would have been no end to the commentary, but the show doesn't really address it after this point. The book, it basically is, maybe he says, how could you? And then they move on as if nothing ever happened. So, I mean, eventually.
I don't think they I think he felt betrayed.
He
and
did,
she was betrayal... tit for tat, man.
Yeah.
Because, and he, without a doubt, led her to believe he could not and would not give her children.
Which is another problem I have. Why couldn't he have simply said, listen, Daphne, I can't marry you because I understand that for you, children are very important.
He did at the duel. He was prepared to die so that she wouldn't have to.
But he should have told her, though, listen,
I made a dumb deal.
Yes. And for me, it's more important than my love for you, apparently, because I have to spite the old man, and I just will not. Okay. I said this could have saved a lot of grief, but whatever. You have to have the drama.
Well, that's the formulaic love story, though. That's a romance thing. It's come together, undeniable passion, get together, something terrible happens, far apart and miserable, resolution, get together.
You just summarized it brilliantly. We gotta, if we ever do a romance podcast, of romance in a nutshell, this is what it's about. So long story short, I didn't like the relationship. I mean, I was happy that eventually, I guess, Simon realized, my deathbed vow should not matter more than my love.
Mm-hmm.
And they have a child.
Yay, that made me so happy.
Yes.
Stupid happy.
And I liked
stupid happy.
The juxtaposition between that scene and the birth scene of his mother, where spoiler or whatever, where
spoiler for the first minute of the first episode.
Yeah, it's my wife is dying, but has she given me a son? So I loved the juxtaposition, how Simon is actually in the room, which I know at that time would not have been common. It was sort of God forbid, you see the process that occurs, So I was glad that he was in the room with her, and that the difference, the love that is, I mean, I think good chemistry. I don't think they, whatever, but anyway.
Okay,
so
I just have to say, I love the two of them together. Their chemistry is fantastic. And apparently when they got cast, like they didn't start filming for 6 weeks because she needed to learn the piano.
Mm-hmm.
They needed to learn to dance. They needed
Yeah.
to learn to ride horses. And like their sex scenes were super choreographed, which was fantastic information. There is a staff intimacy coordinator for that show.
And you know what's funny? Their love scene in the library was the first scene they shot together.
I know.
Which
Can
that
you
should have,
imagine?
I mean, that I don't know if that was hella awkward for them or if they
Well,
punches and saying like let it be, let it be. But I was like, say, can you imagine? This is the first, but even with the actor who plays Tony and the actress Sienna, I think his first scene with her was
it was.
the scene with the tree.
Yeah.
He doesn't have sex with the tree. I just realized that the love scene
No
that would be a
trees
whole different show.
were abused in the course of filming of this.
Yeah, so that was his first scene, I think, with the actress too. So
and he got very into, he had to develop a lot of intimacy with the makeup people because they had to de-shine his bottom, quote
oh,
unquote.
that is so funny. It's like they had to. It's funny.
Can you? Oh man.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think that it must, like, because they'd been working on what each of them could or would put up with for weeks.
During their love scenes.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. That doesn't always happen.
No, like they're like the intimacy coordinator went over like what is your hard no, and and worked through it, and then and they'd known each other for 6 weeks because they'd been dancing probably like 4 hours a day together. So I guess it must, and really neither of them looks so bad.
No, don't.
Like, let's be honest. I could probably kiss the guy.
Yeah. So this has actually been very fun. I've really enjoyed this episode so much.
Definitely.
Yeah, and I think we managed to cover quite a bit. I don't know if there was
6 episodes. Sorry, Lou.
we managed to get quite a lot. So yeah, are there any like final things you wanted to comment on or?
Nope. I think we covered it all, and it's entertaining to me that we covered every side character, and like the last 10 minutes were the main characters.
I know, but see, I feel like we're slowly getting better at this. I think it's a good sign. I like it. It's like we got a lot covered, so I'm very happy. This has been really fun.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to once again thank everyone for listening. I've had a great time, and we look forward to our next podcast session with you all. So stay safe and stay well.
Thanks so much. Have a good one.
Bye, everyone.